Auto lenders on average are losing between $4 to $6 billion a year to fraud.
Don't sit back and wait until it's a problem. It's going to be a problem. You're going to get somebody that comes in and tries to steal a vehicle. Adding a driver's license verification tool is not going to add a lot of friction.
This is not just a good idea. This is going to be a mandate.
Have them take pictures of their license and a selfie and verify it before they even come into the store.
Welcome to the 700 Credit Podcast, the future of automotive finance, compliance, identity verification, and smarter dealership processes. Let's get into it.
Hey, what is going on, Automotive Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the 700 Credit Podcast, where we get to talk all things when it comes to compliance, credit, better processes, increasing our volume in operations through just really good strategies and good technology. Guys, it is tax season, and I love this time of year. Truly, look. When I was in the business, I look forward to this time of year. Look, we're going to see more traffic. We're going to see more deals and more pressure on your team to move fast. Guys, I get it. I love this time of year, but I understand, I worked a lot of bell to bells this time of year. And what I've seen over the years is when volume goes up, process starts to break. Steps get skipped, things get rushed, and that's usually when problems show up. Now, add that into increased fraud at the dealership, compliance expectations are tightening, and how you handle something as simple as a driver's license at the start of a deal matters more than ever. So today, we're going to break down how dealerships can move faster, clean up process, and protect themselves at the same time. And I got the one, the only, the oh so famous Ken Hill with me. Hey, Ken, what's up, man? How you doing?
You got to take it easy on those.
I had too much coffee this morning.
How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We were just saying, it's crazy. This April just gone. It's just so fast.
Like I said to you, I think we skipped April and went right from March to May. I don't know what happened.
I will say though, May, honestly, kind of my favorite time at the car dealership. It's kickoff, right? It's game day. This is when, and then you get into the rest of May, June, July, man. It gets busy.
Well, you got all the playoffs. You got the start of baseball season, hockey, basketball. So, the Masters just happened. So it's exciting from a sports perspective.
I will say that was a wild Masters.
Yeah, it was.
That was wild. You know what? But it feels like kind of everybody's just kind of like dusting themselves off. Everyone's kind of getting the blood pumping and going, and they're showing up at the dealership right now. So I think this is a great time for us to really talk about, because I know, and we've talked about this in the past, and you correct me if I'm wrong, when things get busy is kind of when those fraudsters start to show up in drones. They know we're getting busy, right?
Yeah, we just had a OEM reach out. They just busted a fraud ring, but they lost a lot of cars in a certain state. And
wow, what happened exactly? Can you share?
Well, they didn't have any type of driver's license verification, right? This is what I would say is, your red flag catches one type of fraud, but it does not catch synthetic fraud. So any type of red flags required by law. So whatever red flag you have in place, it's insufficient to really get a full picture of your customer. So it really guides against identity theft. It doesn't guide or guard against synthetic fraud.
So when you say a ring, was this multiple people across the state doing this?
Well, yeah. If you recall synthetic fraud, they make false identities. They create these false identities. It takes a couple years to build a credit history with the new identity, but they don't just build one. And if you have multiple people building multiple identities, that bust out typically happens at the same time for all those identities. So
I get it.
Yeah.
So they kind of come. I get it. It's a planned Hey, it's no different than like what we do in operations. We got a nice strategy, right? And actually, this is kind of like a perfect segue, kind of into my first question because we know tax season. It's here. It's the highest volume time of the year, or one of the highest volume times of the year, and even small inefficiencies, start to add up, right? Like a manual step, like copying a license, can add 3 to 5 minutes, per deal, which compounds quickly. So here's my question, Ken. Right.
Hmm.
During tax season, when volumes spike, where do you see dealerships start to break down operationally? Like when things are getting busy?
Yeah, well, I think you sort of answered it, took my thunder in your opening
Sorry.
statement, but right, things start breaking down. Steps are skipped if you don't have good processes in place, good audit checkpoints in place. Things start breaking down. They want to, get this deal closed, get to the next one, sell as many as they can. Um, you know, so
Do you think it's a
people skip
training?
steps.
Do you think it's a training thing as well? I mean, it's just like it feels like this is something that gets thrown on a piece of paper and we don't really train on it.
Yeah. Well, it's an implementation problem too, right? We're going to talk about driver's license verification, know your customer, right? But that's typically the steps that get skipped. And you got to have good audit processes, right? And driving those processes into your staff, right? It's unacceptable to put a deal through and not have all the fraud checks completed, including a driver's license verification, right? And to your point earlier, right, making a copy of a driver's license, not only is it probably a violation of the Safeguards Act, but it actually takes longer than validating. They actually seem like they're afraid to insert another step, even though the process itself won't take longer. But what happens if that driver's license doesn't pass? That means
Sure.
I can't move this deal, right? And you're gonna, save more than you're going to lose deals by adding a step.
Well, it's all those little things, right? All those little things add up. All right, now, Ken, I'm gonna give you one because you might cringe at this. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, I spent a lot of time working with vendors, but I got a lot of dealer friends, and I had this one friend who goes, "Hey, I have a buddy of mine who just started a dealership. It's a used car dealership. He's really struggling and just kind of figuring out the whole process and stuff like that." He goes, "Would you mind going in there?" I said, "Yeah, sure, sure, sure." I said, "No, don't get me wrong. He bought something that already existed, right? So there were a lot of bad habits in there." So I'm just kind of sitting in the showroom and I'm watching, and I watch the sales guy, and he takes a picture. Doesn't use a photocopy.
Mm.
Didn't even use a photocopy. Ken, he grabs his cell phone out, took a picture of the driver's license, and then text it to the F&I manager. Now, okay, in theory, I can understand, all right, they're trying to save time. It's quick. I can do this quickly. But Ken, come on, there's got to be all kinds of things wrong with.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's typically centralized F&I offices. We see a lot in used car dealerships because it does save on costs. But yeah, that's
That's good.
taking a picture, putting someone's driver's license on someone's phone is certainly a violation of the Safeguards Act. And maybe it's a little bit faster
Mhm.
than actually even making a copy and scanning it and sending it to them. But yeah, not a good process. Something you got to eliminate. And right, there's no fraud detection at all in that process.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's a perfect segue. And look, they didn't know better. So it was probably something that started before somebody else started. I mean, I don't know how many variations of management it went back to. They just started doing that and just legitly didn't know. All right, that was doing. But look, this is a perfect segue because look, auto lenders on average are losing around, and I think I've quoted you on this. And I just want to make sure I got the right numbers, like between $4 to $6 billion a year to fraud.
Yeah, I think it's up to 7 or 8.
Jeez almighty, that's crazy. So, look, a lot of these start at the dealership level. We know that we've been talking about it. It's not always obvious anymore, right? Like I remember when I first started, it was one bad deal can easily be 20 to $60,000 problem real quick. So here's my question, Ken. A lot of dealers are still copying driver's license and they're doing quick visual checks, kind of like what we were just talking about here. What is the real risk? And let's talk a little bit about quick scan. I know, guys, I want to keep these podcasts strategical, but there's a time where technology's got to come in, and like, there's a piece of technology that can deal with this very, very easily. So let's start there. What's the risk and what's the technology solution?
Well, the risk is, as you mentioned, the fraud and the theft, and not only that, but then the relationship
Oh yeah.
with the lender and who's going to buy it back, who's paying for it. So that's a risk. But right, you gotta. I think this message is pretty common. Get to know your customer better.
Mhm.
Slow it down a little bit. Validate the license. Validate the identity. I mean, visual checks are required under the Red Flag Act, right? You're supposed to verify that the person looks like the person sitting in front of you. The description on the license matches the person in terms of height, eye color. But it's not enough. They have to provide a valid ID, which is part of red flag. It has to be a state issued or government issued ID, and you have to do that visual check, but you should also validate it. And it's just costly to skip that step. And what we're finding is the fraud is actually what wakes dealers up, and that's when they call after the fraud. So
Yeah.
I would encourage dealers to don't sit back and wait until it's a problem. It's going to be a problem. You're going to get somebody that comes in and tries to steal a vehicle. So,
It's funny. I remember having a friend. I understand it was like early Google days, right? So there was a fraud issue. Had gone to court, and it had popped up in a local news article. All right, so you see where I'm going with this, right, Ken? So, Ken, I seriously think it was like 3 years. 3 years. If you Googled this dealership's name, the article ranked so high in Google that it actually set literally sometimes either right under or right over the ranking of this specific dealership. Like, dude, I seriously at one point he was like thinking of changing the entire name of the dealership
hmm
to this single thing that affected the reputation of this. And I think sometimes we don't think about that, right? We think we to your point, there's you have yes that one interaction. Yes, there's fines. There's other stuff, but once you said it, like, I was like, "Oh, yeah, not only the customer, but what the customer's perception, what the reputation is, like, if this stuff." Anyways, alright.
some of the big groups think about that, right? They don't put their group name in the name of the dealership. Some do, some don't, and I think that for that very reason.
Actually, there could be a really good reason for that, but I remember, dude, I remember for, like, 3 years, like, we had to overspend in ad spend from a marketing perspective to try to overcompensate for this one thing, and it's not like the news company did anything wrong. They just reported the news, and it just, for some reason, was just from an SEO perspective, it was ranking so incredibly. Anyways, I digress. Let's go to the next one because I want to get a little bit to about like speed versus process. This is always that balance, right? The pushback, right, from dealers has been the compliance or the verification, and they assume it's going to slow things down. That's the pushback, right? But we also know that friction early in the deal kills momentum. I understand that. I've been there, so I feel that pain. Here's my question: how does a great piece of technology like QuickScan actually help a dealer move faster instead of slowing the deal down, making sure that we're keeping a nice tempo through the whole process?
Yeah, well, if you have a QR code at the sales desk, right, the consumer can scan that QR code and it initiates the process, takes a picture front, back, and an optional selfie. selfie is mandatory, I would say, for remote deals, but
Sure.
that process takes less time than for him, that sales rep, to get up and go make a copy.
Mhm.
And so that's not the part that slows down the deal when you implement driver's license authentication. It's the licenses that pop up that could be potentially fraudulent. So
Oh, yeah.
the friction you're avoiding is there to protect you, and it's not a high percentage that pop up as could be possibly fraudulent. It's anywhere from 10 to 20%. So for slowing down a few deals where there's a questionable driver's license,
That's a good point.
I
Yes.
would not call friction. I would call caution. Um, so
I'm with you. Look, I'm with you on that. I think as an industry, we do a good job of putting a lot of other frictions in a lot of other places
yes,
in it, and I'm always surprised to find when people go like, "Well, it's gonna slow it down," and
yeah, yeah,
anyways, I think the next one is really kind of like it's something new. I don't know, Ken. Sometimes I have a hard time. Maybe it's the tough love in me comes out a little bit, but I'm just okay. So like I understand that another hesitation for dealers is they assume that it's a big lift, right? But in reality, this add-on is something that's already they're already using, especially during tax season. No one wants to kind of overhaul the process. We just have to tighten it. So here's my question for you. For a dealership listening right now, all right, how hard is it? And I already know the answer to this, is why I'm giggling a little bit. Um, like, how hard is it to add quick scan if they're already like a 700 credit customer?
yeah, yeah. Well, not just quick scan, but most driver's license solutions you can implement. It order gets set up. That might take a day. Or if you're doing a hardware scanner, right, got to get it delivered, set up. The real time load is on inserting it into your process, training people, inserting it into your audit process where you are auditing deal jackets.
Mhm.
That's where the process is. And if you have a good system that has stop gaps in place, right, inserting that stop gap inside your system so that, right, it's just adaptation of that new process is
Give me an
probably.
example because I'm sure you've seen some great examples of this play out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think this is going to eventually trickle up to the lenders, right? That good systems have stop gaps in place. Basically, it says, okay, you have so much control, but we're going to retain a little bit. So sales reps can scan the license, go through, but if there's a red flag or a possible fraudulent license comes up as a caution or an alert, right? That sales rep, you're taking the power out of that sales rep's hands to move forward,
Mm.
right? So inserting a process like that can take a little bit of time, a little bit of training, but it's really, especially for larger groups, right? You want to be sure that people that you're not even familiar with in some of your stores aren't the ones approving these deals, right? The F&I manager that you have a relationship with, right, who you entrust and who will be held responsible for fraudulent deals, right? When you go in after a fraud case happens, right? Okay, what was our process? What didn't we have in place? How did we miss it? I think you're going to start seeing lenders pushing back, especially with troublesome dealerships, saying, okay, I want to see, you need to tell me you did some type of driver's license verification. I want to see the results.
Yeah, they're gonna mandate it, right?
You're right. They're going to mandate it. And I see it on a manual basis right now with some OEMs and some dealerships, but I think you're going to see more of that.
That's what I was gonna ask you. I was gonna say I can see the OEMs doing this as well. Is there some that you know right now that are currently doing that?
Yes.
Wow.
And others talking about it, but it's the only ones I see doing it right now are doing it manually.
Mm, okay.
And right, it's going to take. There's a lot of systems from the dealership all the way to the OEM impacted, and to automate getting those results through that chain, right, is going to take some time, and the only way it's going to get done is if enough lenders start driving the process.
Which, it's funny that you say that because I have seen a shift. I don't know if you noticed this too. I've seen this shift kind of over the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years of OEMs and lenders, I wanna say influencing, but getting closer to the point of what you're talking about. It's going beyond just an influence of that process, but actually getting to the point where it's a man. Look, guys, we're not talking chump change. You just said it was $7 billion. This isn't small.
Yeah, and some of the lenders, right? They don't have the ability to push it back on the dealer.
Mm, yeah.
The other place I think you're going to see it is, and we're starting to see it. We've had some conversations, right? Insurance for the
Oh,
dealership that pays for the fraud, right? They want us, okay, um, you didn't do any type of driver's license verification. We're not gonna cover this deal.
oh my gosh, I actually, you know what? It's funny that you bring that up because so I had in my entire career, I have only 3 instances of fraud that I had to deal with, right? One was I was working at a group, I was an F&I director, so I was overseeing a bunch of F&I managers, so I wasn't physically at the dealership, but I had to be, like, a part of the conversation, and I remember it was large enough it had to go through insurance, and I can 100% see that. That makes sense, right? Like, the premiums went up because of this one particular situation. I can see where they start not it's not a good idea anymore, it's gonna be a mandate.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
But
gonna
look, bad example, but just look at some mortgage companies, right? You live in a flood zone or on the border, can't fund the deal unless you get flood insurance. So
That's true. So it's a mandate. You're 100% right. You know what? That's a really good point, Ken, and I think, all indicators are showing to exactly what you're saying, right? Is that, hey, dealers out there watching and listening right now, this is not just a good idea. This is going to be a mandate, and there are many different places that it could come from. It could come from your OEM, could come from your lender, and it could come from your insurance company. I could really see the insurance company. Like, that one makes a lot of sense to me. Like, I could see that one getting pushed hard. Look, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our conversation, but I wanted to yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. Like, a fraud tends to increase during high volume periods, like right now. Not because, stores don't care, it's because they're just moving fast and things slip through the cracks, right? Here's my question for you, Ken. If you were a GM heading into the next 30 days of tax season and busier time of the year, we're kicking off sales season, right? What would you want tightened up in your process right now?
it's almost too late. But
That's true. That's right. Maybe you should have
yeah,
asked me last
so
month.
yeah, like, but if I have control over the systems that I can install at my dealership, right? Some of these larger groups, it has to be many sign-offs across the group management level. But I would get some kind of driver's license verification in place, either a physical device or a mobile verification. The physical devices are pretty easy to add to the process, right?
Sure.
That um, those remove any type of FTC violations in terms of making a copy, right? It's just as easy to run that license through a scanner,
Sure.
or put some kind of mobile solution in place, so at least you can verify the license. And whether or not you automate some of these processes and stop gaps, at least get it in place, and make your F&I managers look for it before they fund a deal, even if they're doing it in the F&I office, right? You're not doing it on everybody that comes into a test drive, but at least you're doing it in the F&I office when you're getting
Sure.
ready to fund a deal. That, we already know that process takes a long time, but right, adding a driver's license verification tool is not going to add a lot of friction.
No, I'm with you on that. Now, I'm curious because there are a lot of there are the physical devices and there's the mobile devices. I'm trying to think back. I'm actually curious. Like, I can see benefits on both.
Hmm.
Um, if it was you, it was your dealership. All right, everything you know.
Mhm.
about fraud. I'm just curious, Ken, which one would you pick?
Well, both are getting better.
Mm,
Right. Definitely I would have a mobile for um, transactions that are happening mostly remote and get it done early on in the process. Right. When you have those consumers that are trying to get as much done before they come into the dealership, right? Send them a link, right?
yeah,
Have them take pictures of their license and a selfie, and verify it before they even come into the store. So that's an advantage. Getting that, and certainly, remote deliveries, that type of thing. But the physical device has advantages too, right? You pop the license in, it checks for watermarks, where the mobile devices aren't there yet.
mhm.
But they both do a really good job.
No, you're right. I could see a use case for actually having both, to be totally honest with you. See, the thing I like about the physical one is that it sits in a specific area. So, this is just the old operator's brain kicking in, right? Like it requires a element of kind of like a quick check-in because you have to come to a defined place. And like if I put that in my tower, if I put that near my managers, like just, I'm like, okay, well, where are you going? What are you doing? So
Yeah, and the physical device we have in place too, that we support, right? It goes right into the deal jackets as well, or an electronic, vault.
yes,
So that also addresses the safeguards regulation of how you're handling consumer information.
that's true.
So yeah, they're
That's a good
both.
point. That's actually a good point because it's not just about capturing and confirming and identifying, but it's also the storage of that. Gosh, there was something I can't
Get
remember.
them off the phones.
Did
Get the
did you just
pictures off the phones.
oh, jeez almighty, right? Like, well, what was that? I just saw it on LinkedIn. Was it a couple weeks ago? What was a dealership where someone broke into it and they stole paper jackets? It was like 6 years. Did you
I
remember?
did see that. Yeah, yeah.
It's wild, right? Hey, look, I know I got a few more minutes with you, right? So I'm gonna throw a little bonus question out there, right? Like most dealers, they don't think of fraud problems until, like you said earlier, like until they actually experience it. Trust me, guys, if you're watching, listening, I'm 100% in that boat. Okay, it didn't even cross my mind until I actually had to deal with it one time. So here's my question: What is one mistake, all right, that you're seeing that dealers don't realize they're making right now? Look, I understand there's maybe a handful of things, but what is one that you have seen that they're making right now? They don't realize
Around the driver's license, or
fraud in general.
I think having a good audit process of your deal jackets, and enforcing what your expectations are for every deal.
Yeah,
That's a you're supposed to have a compliance officer.
well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you're supposed to have, according to the red flag regulation, you're supposed to have a compliance officer designated, a process defined, signed off on by management. So I think there's not enough. The percentages are high of people that are doing right, but they're
Yes.
very high on people that aren't right. That's still what 50-60% are using paper deal jackets.
Hmm.
That number's coming down fast. I think it's sort of to your question. Don't be reactive. Be proactive.
That's
And getting these things, and who knows what's going to happen with the FTC and these letters that just sent out. You know, how, letters are a good sign that something bigger might be coming, right?
it's usually the first sign, right?
Yeah.
And guys, for everybody out there watching, listening right now, just if you ever want to learn more about what Ken just mentioned, Ken and Adam at KPA did an amazing webinar on this. It's on the 700 credit website. So they can go to the resource section and they can dive a little bit more into this. Look, Ken, I know we're at the tail end of our time, and for everybody out there watching, listening, we really, really appreciate. And to Ken's point, guys, it's just about. And by the way, I love the audit thing because it completes the loop. It's I don't really think about it. See, I've always thought about audit from a compliance perspective because
Yeah.
I've
Oh no, I'm
never
getting audited, right?
exactly. But to your point, Ken, like you're already just you add 2 or 3 extra things to the audit. Now you're actually completing the loop and ensuring that the process you put in place to mitigate your fraud is just been completed as well. So I actually think that's a really good one. I think for everybody out there watching this right now, if you guys are currently doing compliance audits, which I'm sure you are, okay, um, just adding a little bit extra just to ensure that you guys are executing consistently to mitigate the fraud is a big one. Hey, Ken, this has been a great podcast. We've done some amazing podcasts. For everybody out there watching and listening right now who'd like to watch some of the other podcasts we've done, where can they go watch the other podcasts and, of course, learn more about QuickScan?
Yeah. Well, follow us on LinkedIn. We post them all on LinkedIn, and you could probably go back through LinkedIn and find all the podcasts. We're also going to hang them on our website. I believe we have a podcast page.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I've seen it yet, but we do have one, and they can go to our website to see more. And we got a lot of fun things coming up too. I'm excited about the education that we can bring to our dealers. I think education drives sales and adoption, and more importantly, adoption. So I'm excited.
Dude, I am too. This has been a fun series. We do have we're going to start bringing some guests on. Guys, hey, look, if there's any topics that you would like, Ken and I to cover, like, we would love to hear from you. Like, drop comments when we're posting stuff on LinkedIn. Drop comments below. It means a lot to us. Look, one of the biggest things that you can say thank you to a content creator like us, or a nice little compliment to us, is share the show. If you got a manager or a colleague that needs to see some portion of today's conversation, share the show. It means so much to us. Ken, thank you so much for your time. And for everybody out there watching, thank you. You guys,
thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the 700 Credit Podcast. Tighten your process, protect your deals. See you in the next episode.